The Holocaust, considered the worst atrocity and most devastating human massacre in history. Adolf Hitler's brutality was responsible for the slaughter of more than 11 million innocent people, 6 million Jews, and approximately 5 million others, non-Jews, caught in the crossfire of hatred and prejudice.
Anti-Semitism was growing. I was kicked out of Cub Scouts at the age of 8 because of my religion.
There was loads of anti-Semitism. On holidays, the priest would rile up the public, especially on Easter Sunday, that the Jews killed Christ. And at that point, Jews were afraid to walk the streets.
Hitler's plan involved dehumanizing all Jews by instilling fear and hatred, fanning the flames of widespread public anti-Semitism. November 9th, 1938. Lives were shattered forever. The start of the Holocaust. Hitler's henchmen incited riots throughout Germany and Austria. They torched more than 1,500 synagogues and some 7,000 Jewish stores. Nazis arrested 30,000 Jewish men and took them to concentration camps.
I remember getting up in the morning, going to school, and outside in the street, shards of glass, a lot of damage that was visible. We didn't quite know what it was yet.
When I got to the temple, it was in flames, and the police and the firefighters were standing around, but they were only interested to make sure the fire wouldn't extend to houses nearby.
4 Nazis in the uniform of SR came to the door, smashed down the door, beat the 3 of us, my parents and myself, smashed the furniture, threw it out the window, and dragged my father out in the street, handed him a little toothbrush, and said, "Jews, scrub the sidewalk."
September 1st, 1939, Hitler invaded Poland, and England gave an ultimatum, either get out or we are in a state of war, and of course Hitler didn't get out. So war broke out September 3rd. That's when my father was put into concentration camp, Sachsenhausen.
The Polish youth, anti-Semitic youth, they were standing in front of Jewish stores and they were saying, "Don't buy by a Jews."
All the Jews had to wear armbands with the Star of David. All the Jews from 12 had to work for the Germans without pay, without food.
I had to wear a yellow star in the front and in the back of my clothes. I got a new middle name, Israel. All Jewish men got the middle name of Israel, and all Jewish women got the new middle name of Sarah.
The very first thing, we had to wear those armbands. Could not step out without it. Could not walk on the sidewalk, could not walk into public buildings, could not go shopping. They imposed a curfew.
We were not allowed to go to a movie, we were not allowed to go to a park, we were not allowed to go to the swim pool, we were not allowed to use public transportation.
Life continued to become more and more unbearable. The Nazi Gestapo swooped in and forced Jews into confined closed areas called ghettos, surrounded by barbed wire.
Then in 1941, they established a ghetto. And this isolated us from normal life. Part of town was designated for the ghetto. All the Jews from surrounding streets had to move in. All the Jews from surrounding villages had to move into the ghetto. The overcrowding was unbearable.
Once Hitler imprisoned Jews within the squalor of the ghettos, he moved quickly to systematically eliminate the Jews by taking them to concentration camps. The future for everyone in the camps was either forced hard labor or death.
We saw people bringing out from those big buildings where the women and children went. They were bringing out clothing, bunches of clothing. We found out, they told them to undress, and they're going to get a shower. They're going to be disinfected. And they never came back. They killed them, and they pushed them into the gas chambers.
They gave us striped uniforms. Each of us had a number on the jacket, on our striped jacket, and underneath there was a triangle. The triangles told you why the people were there. The red triangles were political prisoners. The black triangles were gypsies. Purple were Jehovah's Witnesses. Pink were homosexuals. Light green were habitual criminals, and dark green were murderers.
While most of the world stood by and turned a blind eye, many Jews did fight back. There are many stories of resistance fighters who dared to risk everything to save their fellow Jews. The famous Warsaw Ghetto Uprising of April 19, 1943, where the Jews held back the Nazis for 23 days, and the Jewish partisans who lived in the forests attacked the enemy.
They started to push us in like cattle with the rifle butts, fast. My brother and I were from the first ones to get in. We stationed ourselves near a little vent. My brother and I, realizing we'll soon die, we'll soon suffocate, we reacted in the only way possible. I still don't know how we did it. We pushed ourselves up on top of the people's heads, and we managed, with a superhuman effort, we managed to get out. Better to be shot from a bullet than to suffocate. About 3 hours later, the train stopped. The name of the station was Treblinka. The doors swung open. Us, they told to pull out the dead from the train. In some wagons, there were about 60 to 70% suffocated people.
Cattle car doors were opened. They kept yelling, "Get out, get off the cars." Women had to go to one side, men on the other. When we got to the front of the platform, there was the SS officer there. We found out later was Dr. Mengele, the infamous butcher of Auschwitz. And he just looked at people and sent them either left or right. Both my father and I were sent to the left, which meant we were staying alive. Anybody sent to the right, they were marched right into the gas chambers. Food was basically non-existent. You had your portion of bread every day, which I believe in this country would amount to about 3 ounces. And we saw the American tanks rolling in with each one, whoever was the leader, sitting up on top of the turret. That was another indelible memory.
We entered what had to be the closest thing to hell. This was the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp. Somehow the guards had a premonition, and they were gone before or after we even walked into the camp. The ground was literally carpeted with the skeletal remains of Jewish men, women, and children, piled one on top of another. Again, young British and American soldiers, Jew and Gentile alike, were horror-stricken. But what had to be the most horrendous sight of all were those still barely alive, just staring into space, too weak to even thank us for their liberation.